Alrighty. Hey everyone, Adrian here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about developing with Groundhogg. I get this question a lot. People want to create their own custom extensions, their own integrations. Groundhogg, at the end of the day, it's an open source CRM and marketing automation plugin for WordPress, which means that you should be able to integrate your own tools and your own services. You want to create custom integrations with products that you're using that we don't necessarily already create integrations for, and Groundhogg provides what I believe to be the best framework for being able to develop quickly and effectively without having to worry too much about backwards compatibility, about updates. You can just create something one and done and be sure that it's going to work long into the future. I think we have some of the best tools to enable small businesses and developers like yourself to be able to do that. And today we're going to be going over one of those features, and we're going to have a few more videos coming up in the future to explain some of the other features. So today, for this video, what we're going to focus on is the plugin API benchmark. This is a development tool meant for developers or people who are semi-savvy with PHP development and WordPress plugin development. This tool essentially exists for you to be able to create your own custom benchmarks without actually having to create a custom benchmark, which actually shows up in the funnel editor itself. So we have this really unique tool, which you can add. It's part of our advanced features extension into any funnel, and you can essentially use it to create a custom benchmark with very specific parameters. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Stick around. All right, so first things first, prerequisites for this video, you're going to need to have some kind of plugin development PHP knowledge, or else you're going to get very lost very quickly. So I'd recommend that if you're watching this video, stick around if you're a fairly competent PHP or WordPress plugin developer. The second thing is you'll need to have Groundhogg, and you'll need to have the Groundhogg Advanced Features extension, which has these sort of developer bonus goodies. You will see that on the screen that I am sharing, I have two steps there. I have a plugin API benchmark and a plugin API action. I'm going to cover the plugin API action in a separate video. So for this video, I'm going to be doing the plugin API benchmark. So I've already added that to the funnel. Now in Groundhogg, when a benchmark is completed, a contact gets added to a funnel, and they get all the emails, and they go through all the automation that exists within that funnel. And this benchmark exists so that developers can create custom hooks from other plugins, their own plugins, integrations to enter people into a funnel. It's going to be incredibly useful if you do a lot of custom work on your website, or maybe you have like a custom membership area or something like that, or you want to have like a custom button or something, or maybe some sort of admin tool you want to create for salespeople. There is a lot of possibilities, and with anything in code, there's unlimited possibilities. So let's just jump in to how it actually works and how you might use it as an example. So opening up the benchmark settings, we have it on the right. We actually have some example code here. This makes it really easy to copy and paste that into maybe a custom plugin or a custom theme, a functions.php file that you already have. And we have a setting here for a call name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in just a random call name. Well, not necessarily random, but maybe a call name, which is essentially in WordPress a hook name that gives context to the type of integration or the type of benchmark that you're creating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do new member is the call name that I'm going to use. You might want to call it, my new member benchmark or something like that, just to add a little bit of specificity if you're doing a lot of these. But I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to call it new member. And let's say I have some sort of custom membership plugin that I wrote for my business or that I wrote for my WordPress site, and I have some sort of new member functionality, and I want to start a funnel. When somebody becomes a new member, this is what I would use to do that. So then I can go ahead and save the settings, and you'll notice that in the sample code, it actually updates with the call name that you gave it there in the code. So when you copy and paste it, it does most of the work for you. So at this point, we're basically done the groundhog setup of this. And now all it comes down to is code. So we can hop on over to our IDE of choice. I'm going to use PHP Storm for the sake of this example. It's fairly easy to use. And I have all of my sample code here. I will also be uploading this to GitHub, so you can go into the description, grab the GitHub link, and download it so that you can use the exact same code that I'm using. All right, so our plugin API benchmark I have at the bottom of the file here. So we have an action, we have this function called myHandler function, and then we actually have to do the bits responsible for triggering the benchmark in the funnel. Okay, so let's say I have some sort of custom membership plugin. My custom membership plugin will be the action new member. This is just made up. It's fictional for the purposes of demonstration, but let's say I had some sort of plugin. It had an action called new member, and I wanted to hook into that in order to actually do the groundhog trigger, API benchmark rather. So I have an action, I have my handler function, and at this point what we're going to do is we are going to create a new contact record, and then we're going to actually do the API benchmark, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. And again, this is completely arbitrary. I'm just making this up. Your mileage or the way that you implement this may differ, but the pattern is always the same. So I'm going to say that when a new member is registered, it passes in their WordPress user ID. And again, this is completely made up. I'm going to say that is an integer. And we're coming in here, and we need to end this function with the following. Do plugin API benchmark is a special function, which is included in the Groundhog package. And I want to hard code in the call name that we want to call. And you'll remember that we quantified that as new member. So we'll go here, and you can see in our plugin network, our call name is new member. Heading back to PHP Storm, we want to do plugin API benchmark new member, and then we have to pass either the contact ID. So we need to pass the contact ID, the user ID, or the email address of the contact in order to safely trigger the benchmark. So here what we can do is we can pass in the user ID, and then true to, because we have this by user ID, because we can either pass the contact ID or the user ID, and to signal to Groundhog that we want to use the user ID in order to select the contact from the database, we got to pass in this truthy value here. Alternatively, what we could do is we could use one of Groundhog's endless helper functions and kind of syntactical goodies, and we can say generate, maybe not generate, Groundhog, and we want to say create contact from user. I believe that's the function. Yep, that's right. Create contact from user, and we can just pass in the user ID. And let's just go check in, takes user. There we go. So we can say contact is equal to create contact from user, and then we can get rid of this nonsense, and we can say contact get ID. There we go. So in this case, what we're going to do here is we are creating a contact record in the event that one might not exist, which is the safe way to do it, just by passing a user, and this will automatically generate a contact record from that user record. And then we are going to pass in the contact ID to this function, and that is going to trigger our custom benchmark. And then you can do anything else that you want. So any follow-up code that you want can go here. So like maybe setting some custom fields. Something like that, completely up to you. But now what's going to happen is whenever this action runs in WordPress, it's going to trigger the handler function, which you have defined here, and I would recommend probably changing that name to something else at some point. We know from our hook that it passes the user ID. We can create a new contact record using this nice helper function by passing the user ID, and then we are going to call our do plugin API benchmark function with our call name, which was defined in the funnel settings, in the step settings in the funnel. We're going to pass in our contact ID, and then that's it. And now whenever this happens, that is going to run our funnel. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So if you have some sort of custom development job, or you want to create a custom benchmark, but you don't want to faff around with generating a whole bunch of UI for it, because it's a really simple benchmark, and you just needed to do one very specific thing, this is by far the easiest way to do it. It is backwards compatible. We have guaranteed backwards compatibility for this system, unlike backwards compatibility for UI changes and things that might happen within the funnel editor. This is a super safe way to develop with Groundhogg, and it's really, 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 really easy. It's just a couple functions you have to know, and then that's pretty much all there is to it. So if you have any questions, leave those down in the comments, and be sure to tune in to the follow-up episode of this, where we're going to talk about the plugin API action, which is similar but different to this. Instead of triggering a funnel or starting a funnel when your custom integration happens, what it does is during a funnel, it will do a custom action for that contact. And we'll talk more about that in the follow-up episode. Thanks. My name's been Adrian. Have a great day.